Hello and welcome to Non-Brony Reviews, where pony comics... I haven't decided yet. But I have decided to keep the referencing of catchphrases to a minimum from now on, so you can at least not worry about that. Okay, so The Return of Queen Chrysalis was the first story in the first series from IDW Comics about My Little Pony. And obviously it was a success, because not only is the series still going 2 years later, it produced the company's single most successful issue in 2012. Plus, The Return of Queen Chrysalis and the follow-up story, Nightmare Rarity, won by a landslide in the poll that you, the viewers, voted in for what I should review in the extended universe of this franchise. So, let's not waste any time and dig right in.
We open with the Cutie Mark Crusaders on a nighttime adventure to work with animals and get their cutie marks. Scootaloo hopes there'll be cutie marks in jungle adventuring, but Sweetie Belle points out that since they're in Fluttershy's backyard, that's not very likely.
I agree. There are way too many species there to say it's just the jungle.
Sweetie Belle then notes that the study of ponies is called hippology, but Scootaloo objects that she doesn't think they look very much like hippos. But then, I'm assuming what happened is they noticed that one of Fluttershy's hippos had the same hair as Apple Bloom, so they put one of her bows on its head to have a good laugh at her expense. Ah, childhood friendships. And then we get our title drop in the next panel, The Return of Queen Chrysalis, which wasn't actually what she was called in her last appearance, but I guess she's just easier to market this way. So the Crusaders agree to split up and try working with different animals, and we cut to Scootaloo, who's placed a snapping bear in a top hat, a cape, and a tutu, and put it on her scooter, saying, "If this doesn't get me a cutie mark, I don't know what will."
Bear, snapping, scooter, tutu, nothing else.
Oh, and meanwhile, Apple Bloom's turning down a koala, saying, "I don't think I have the necessary qualifications to work with you." But then Sweetie Belle points out that all the animals' eyes have suddenly started glowing, and they all seem to be staring at the three. And then they suddenly attack, and we cut to the next day, where lots and lots of fan service is happening. And meanwhile, over at Sweet Apple Acres, Applejack is telling Apple Bloom that it's time to get up. But then we cut to a dead-eyed Apple Bloom brushing past her sister and turning down her suggestion for another way to get her cutie mark. Well, what's got her so addled? And since this definitely takes place before Some Pony to Watch Over Me, the only possibility on the table is that the Crusaders did not get away unscathed last night. Cutting over to Rarity reveals that she's having the same problem with Sweetie Belle. Was I that odd when I was her age? I don't think I was. Oh, that head over there needs more feathers! And over with Scootaloo, Rainbow Dash is offering to let her help perfect a trick that she's been working on, but Scootaloo simply says no. No? Who would want to hang out with me? Me! But I'm awesome. Okay, this is the grammar Nazi in me coming out, but this is actually pretty awkwardly phrased. Rainbow says but as though she's about to counter what Scootaloo just said, but that's already what she was doing in the first part of that. If she'd said, no, who wouldn't want to hang out with me? Me! I'm awesome. That would have been fine, but as is, it makes no sense. And granted, I know they were trying to capture the character voice with that, and it's true if she'd said, you don't want to hang out with me? But I'm awesome. That also would have worked, but as is, it comes across like she forgot what she was saying mid-sentence. I mean, that's like if somebody went,
What the heck is with this review? Who reads a comic to learn about grammar? Grammar! But on the other hand, grammar is boring.
So while Rainbow Dash is nursing her ego's broken heart, the other friends start to notice that everyone in the town is acting a little bit strange. Twilight says she has an idea as to why, but Rainbow Dash says she wasn't listening due to staring at the gum on her hoof. So then Applejack yells at her and then switches back to explaining to Twilight what she's seen so far mid-panel. I don't get it. Not one of the reactions on that panel seemed warranted. I mean, was that whole thing just an excuse for
Rainbow?
So Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy show up and add that Cheerilee didn't show up to teach the school, and that something may or may not be wrong with the cakes, depending on how you interpret Pinkie Pie. And then Fluttershy points out that they might be better off moving the conversation somewhere more private. Quick! To the library! That's your solution for everything. So they get there as fast as they can and set to work solving the mystery. Twilight thinks this is starting to seem all too familiar, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense since the villain she's suspecting didn't really do anything quite like this last time, but everyone else agrees with her, so she gets a book off the shelf and reads up. According to my extensive note-taking, the Changelings are back, and this time they must be after Ponyville.
What are you taking notes on? The writers of the comic itself? I mean, that's like if in their last fight with the Changelings she just said, okay, well, according to my notes, we'll fight our way through this blockade of Changelings just fine, but then we'll run into another one, be overrun, and then dragged back to the Queen.
And true, she could have just meant that her notes say all of this is characteristic of Changelings, but again, how you phrase things. It makes a difference. Give a darn. Oh, and plus, that would have also meant that her notes told her that it's the same group as before. Anyway, they all agree on the first order of business. Well, we need to warn Princess Celestia right away. She'll get rid of them right quick.
Right quick? Would you turn into Crocodile Dundee there for a second?
Right quick! So right quick, they put Spike to work, he sends the letter, receives a new one, and what the heck is with the way they drew him there? Okay, it's long since been established that Spike receives these letters through a sort of fiery belch, and yeah, he's surrounded by all girls and everything, but come on. Would any of them besides Rarity really consider it that big a deal? Like it's so disgusting, he looks like this distorted, freakish doofus? Not even back in Dragon Quest, when he actually was having a burping contest with a whole swarm of teenage dragons, did the animation emphasize it that much.
I'd throw in a gag to demonstrate, but you'll all probably thank me for not bothering.
But when Twilight reads her letter from Celestia, it turns out to be a try again later message.
This is the Sun. Your call is very important to us, but due to unusually high call volume...
Well, it looks like we are on our own for this. It's clobbering time.
You did that on purpose.
But they opt to try to slip past the Changelings instead, and Pinkie Pie volunteers to show them how. First, I want you to clear your mind. Then, I want you to walk like a zombie. Then, I want you to, smile. No, wait, don't smile. Yeah, careful with your catchphrase there, Pinkie. And so they set out and successfully slip past the Changeling by acting like zombies, and then spot Derpy being captured. The Changelings are right in the middle of this amusing bit here, where one of them tries to take the form of Derpy, and the other bonks it on the head to make sure it gets the wall eyes right.
You know, I agree, she is cuter like that.
The Changelings spot the group, but the zombie act fools them, and they take off. The group then looks over Derpy, trapped in a chrysalis, but forgets all about freeing her when Spike points out that the Changelings are probably stationed in the glowing green town hall. Well, that explains at least one of the long absences between her appearances. So the group bursts in ready to go, but has second thoughts when they see dozens more ponies trapped in those pods and the Changelings start to emerge. Twilight rallies them again, reminding them that they've fought and beat the Changelings before, but has second thoughts again when she sees the full extent of their numbers. The Changelings then start taking the form of Pinkie Pie, and Twilight points out that it's to confuse them, even though that would be incredibly obvious since they did the same thing last time. And then Applejack and Rarity start going on about how it's getting downright nightmarish, even though this is absolutely nothing they wouldn't have been expecting, and then...
Where are you going with this? This has to be some of the most schizophrenic build-up I've ever seen.
Now, where was I? Oh yeah, then Pinkie Pie says that it would be the best party ever if they weren't all about to be turned into pod ponies.
Why? I mean, don't get me wrong, I like hanging out with my friends, but if there were several dozen of each of us at one party, I'd get the hell out of there as fast as I could. For more reasons than one.
But I think I know why. Because Pinkie! So the fight kicks off, and whoa, what comic did this turn into? Stylized white outline of Rainbow Dash kicking a changeling Pinkie Pie? I mean, whoa! Oh, and when I say kicks off, I mean kicks off, being as the sound effect is a giant kick! And then below it, better kick! I mean, what did the literals write this part? Imagine if something as complex as a Jackie Chan fight scene were given sound effects like these. But then below that, we see Spike isn't doing quite so well, running away from a changeling with its head on fire, and... Wait, Spike scored a direct hit with his fire breath?
He'd be dead.
Also, why is he running? He held his own wrestling the Diamond Dogs who dragged Rarity underground just fine, and there's certainly no evidence that these things are any tougher. Anyway, Fluttershy wants Rainbow Dash to take it easy since the thing she's hitting looks like Pinkie Pie, but Rainbow Dash just says, Fluttershy, when are you going to learn that you're nice until it's time not to be nice? So Fluttershy is forgetting her own behavior patterns? Again, how you phrase things. I know they're trying to capture the character voice, and it's probably not that big a deal, but they're just not good at it. I mean, maybe a voice actor could make the line their own, but you don't have one of those in a comic, and having to pause and picture it yourself is distracting. It comes across like they're doing it for its own sake rather than because they have a good sense of the character. Because poor literacy is something. But then Rainbow Dash gets hit, and Fluttershy reminds us that she hasn't completely sat out that lesson, busting out the stare.
How dare you hit my friends! You meanie! You and your friend should go home right now!
If that's okay with you. Fluttershy, everybody. To tell Pinkie Pie apart from the other changelings, Rarity gives her a new hairdo she doesn't like. Thank goodness it never occurs to the changelings to transform again, not even into one of the other friends if they honestly can't copy Rarity's handiwork for some reason. To get Rarity fired up, Rainbow Dash tells her to pretend that the changelings are last year's fashion.
Eep! Leg warmers and stirrup pants! Not in my spring line!
Again, the comic book is a different medium. With only one panel of animation and no Tabitha St. Germain performance to breathe life into that, it comes across as the cheap, generic gag that it is. Although, wow, since when can Rarity do the concussive magic blasts? The battle rages on, and Twilight yells, "We need to try something else. We need a way to take them all down at once."
But why, Twilight? What we're doing's working just fine so far. We're gonna lose if it keeps going at this rate. Well, don't get me wrong, it'd be nice if we had a way, but it doesn't look like we're gonna lose. I didn't have anything leader-like to yell, alright? I mean, it's all they let me do in these fight scenes. I'm a non-presence otherwise. Just cut me some slack, alright?
But it turns out Pinkie Pie does have a way, busting out her party cannon to spray the changelings with her super sticky double bubble gum for gummy cake. Sure, why not? So the group sets everyone free, only to find that the Cutie Mark Crusaders aren't there. But as Pinkie Pie reinflates her hair, Rainbow Dash detects that Spike needs her help, and punches him in the back hard enough to get him to belch up a glowing green orb. Huh, I don't remember reading this. Is it from the princess? Princess? No. But a queen? Yes. And so, the Queen of the Changelings, who still hasn't been referred to as Queen Chrysalis once in this comic, makes her appearance. Where's my sister, you ill-groomed Swiss cheese mule? Hey, temper, ladies. Tisk, tisk.
Remember she said that.
She reveals that she has the Crusaders, and though Rarity questions if it's really them at first, hearing them bicker about their cutie marks pretty much confirms that they're the real deal. Seriously, though, are even they really oblivious enough to be thinking about cutie marks now?
What would a cutie mark and be in filling app look like? Like us?
I don't know if I want a picture of you on my flank for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that could probably be taken the wrong way.
But it certainly seems to be annoying the Queen, who gives them 3 days to rescue the Crusaders, and begins spinning a threat on what will happen if they don't, until the Crusaders point out that she's about to start monologuing and gather round to listen, causing her to give it up and cut the transmission. Twilight puts together that the Queen must be hoping to take advantage of the Secretariat Comet, set to arrive in 3 days, which will cause lots of anomalies and increase the power of magical beings, and you get it. The group still can't get through to Canterlot, and they don't want to go walking into a trap, but Applejack and Rarity refuse to wait around and risk their sisters, so they all agree to set out together. Spike, you stay here. Keep trying to get a hold of Princess Celestia and tell her where we are. I'm leaving you in charge of the captured changelings. When you get a hold of the princess, she'll take care of them.
He could keep writing letters to the princess while traveling with you, couldn't he? And slip in where you're stashing the changelings? I mean, you have a mayor, right? You have the mayor, right? Why not leave her in charge of the changelings? Or any able-bodied character who wouldn't cost you a member of the group. Actually, why are you limiting it to just the group? I mean, you're up against an army here, and you have a whole town who probably wants to see the downfall of these changelings. I'm sure there's at least a few able-bodied characters in there who could help you out, not the least of which is Rainbow Dash's entire team of Pegasi with 10.0 wing power. Well, what about Big Mac? I mean, I'm sure he'd want to make sure his sister's okay, and he can drag an entire house across the town with his strength. That would probably come in handy. This is just an excuse to focus only on the characters you want to, and you know it.
And we close with the image of the group setting out together, fitting in one more moment to yell at Pinkie Pie for going on about monkeys and ninjas and monkey ninjas, and, well, it's still funnier than the punchline. But there's also a side story included about Pinkie Pie helping Rarity design a dress, only to go get some ice cream and stain it when Rarity steps out, and then try to replace it with a curtain so Rarity won't notice, and failing miserably. I don't get it. Is this supposed to be like a moment of Pinkie Pie logic? Like, she knows the curtain looks like the dress, but she doesn't realize it won't fool anybody if she wears it like a curtain? Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, this comic was alright.
It clearly wanted to be the exciting, fun-loving adventure with these characters and everything that fans have come to love about them. But knowing the kind of story you want to be is not the same as having a good sense of that story and what makes it work. For one, there is more than a little forced comedy here. And some of these exchanges are so slapdash I actually had to play a couple of them over in my head just to see if I could get the effect they were going for.
It actually speaks to an infamous pitfall in the world of writing when attempting to use the breezy style.
No.
What I mean is trying to imitate the carefree, unstructured sort of way that people talk and act in everyday life. It usually comes across as fake and sloppy because, well, your audience sees that every day. They can tell when you're just doing an imitation. What you need to keep in mind is the particular quality that you're trying to get across. Which words best express what the particular character is conveying. But with that all said,
the character moments that do work are almost worth it alone, and there are plenty of those too. Plus, the comic gets a lot of mileage out of the return of the Changelings. It knows that they're great villains, and what it spins in this setup is fun, action-packed, and sort of exciting, reintroducing them and their powers in a way that's sort of suspenseful, letting us know that the worst is yet to come.
So come back for part 2 and we'll see what it builds to. Take care.
Roadhouse.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, send it to your enemies. And if you'd like to talk about this some more, you can join the community on Facebook, Twitter, or one of the other links posted down in the description. And don't forget to send me your videos or fan art relevant to the show for Viewer Appreciation Corner at the end of every month. Thanks for watching.